This week we look at life on the coastline and riverine communities, similarities and differences, and at the efforts being made to ensure all citizens have a share of the national pie. I'm Shivani Ramprasad. Stay tuned for Guyana 411. If you live on the coastline of Guyana, you take certain things for granted, such as water through the taps, a bus or a car to take you to school or work. In the riverine communities, these things are not so common. But this does not mean that the residents of these communities should not enjoy the same services like residents of the coastline. In this land of 83,000 square miles and of 6 people, every citizen deserves a fair share of the national pie.
Can you imagine what life would be like without the ready access to potable water? Can you imagine how fatiguing it would be to fetch buckets of water for your every need? This was the reality of the residents in the Kartabo and Itabali villages in Region 7. However, relief is on the way.
The Basic Needs Trust Fund program is referred to as the Caribbean Development Bank's flagship poverty reduction program. Now, in essence, what that means is that it's the program that is targeted at poverty. It is a targeted program whereby we go into communities, identify where the poverty is, the most need, and then we put intervention in those communities to ensure that the beneficiaries of these interventions, that their lives are changed.
Residents of Kartabo and Itabali, 2 villages in Region 7, should be accessing potable water before the end of the year. This is being made possible under a project funded by the Caribbean Development Bank and implemented through the Basic Needs Trust Fund, which is the project implementation unit of the Ministry of Finance.
From time to time, I come here every 3 to 6 months, have internal discussion with the BNTF office, and I also visit a random sample of projects to ensure that they are going okay, and then I can report back to the bank, because this program is a grant program. Yeah. Now there are contributors to the program, and these contributors, obviously we have to report to them because they are using taxpayers' money to provide this funding. So we have to ensure that the taxpayers' money is spent and there are positive outcomes from them.
The project includes the digging of 2 200-feet shallow well and installation of overhead storage and photovoltaic system that will be linked to a submersible pump at each village. The solar-powered pumps will send water to the storage, then by gravity feed down to standpipes in the village. Each village would have about 5 standpipes at strategic points.
They're in the advanced stage. The final designs are already completed, and we are expecting before the year is out, probably sometime early December, implementation will start, because we are following our procurement guideline where we have to advertise the sub-project in the media for approximately 28 days, and then we go through our tender process and seek the no objection from the Caribbean Development Bank before we could have a contractor to undertake the work. Those 2 villages were selected as a result of our needs assessment, where we are collaborating with the Guyana Water Incorporated, and they would have identified these 2 areas as areas urgently in need of this intervention at this time. So we followed the lead from GWI, and we had our community meetings where our CLO, Ms. Simone Kelman, and my engineer, Mr. Decadema Utah, they were in the area several times where they did the groundwork. We put up all the proposals to our local board here in Guyana, who gave us the approval before we send the application to the Caribbean Development Bank for approval.
Kartabo and Itabali will not be the only villages to benefit from potable water supply. Other villages across the country will also receive similar relief.
We are in our 7th cycle, our BNTF 7th cycle. And in the 7th cycle, we have about 18 water supply projects across the country. not only in Region 7, we are doing in 9, we are doing in Region 3, we are doing in 2. All over the country, we are doing these water projects. So the 7th cycle, we have already committed the funds that was so designated for the water supply sector. We are hoping that in the future we could apply additional funding on future BNTF cycles that we will run into, probably BNTF 9, so that we could do that. In addition to that, the Guyana Water Incorporated, they are the body, and they would look at these projects, and they would do capital invention through the government budget. We also have attached to the sub project, the infrastructure, we have training that is called water and sanitation training, where we have partnered with the Guyana Water Incorporated and the Environmental Protection Agency, where we go and we teach about safe water, we teach them about treatment of the water, and we would leave a chlorination kit with them so that they would be able to know how to treat the water with chlorine so that the residents could have safe water to drink.
Under the Caribbean Development Bank's Basic Needs Trust Fund program, 10 countries benefit. These are Belize, Dominica, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, St. Lucia, Grenada, Guyana, Jamaica, St. Kitts and Nevis, Montserrat, and Turks and Caicos Islands. Investments are seen in the sectors of health, education, water, and infrastructure, to name a few.
People generally desire to live in safety, where criminals and bandits do not exist. While the ideal might be unattainable, it is the responsibility of governments to ensure everything be done to ensure the relative safety of citizens. For the government of Guyana, that is the #1 priority, and taking illegal guns off the street is one way towards improving the security of citizens.
Government also wants to operate in an environment, a society, a country that is safe. Not only is it good for the citizens, but also for the foreigners, as a crime-free country attracts more tourists and investors and opens up opportunities for development in many areas. The coalition government has a great vision for Guyana, and hence criminal gangs and enterprises will not be allowed. These pose a threat to the administration's implementation of its developmental projects.
I'm sure that where we are now, Minister Ramjatan has already said, Vice President Ramjatan, that we are making tremendous strides. And what we want to say to the law-abiding citizens of this country is that the security forces they're working day and night to guarantee and ensure your safety. And what we are saying also again to the criminals, that watch it, we are on the run. We have you on the run, and we're going to follow you up wherever you are. We're going to make sure that this country is safe. And whoever commit these crimes or help in planning them and helping in the execution, that you're all part of a criminal enterprise, we are going to get at you.
The administration, however, cannot do this alone, so engagements have been established with international and other agencies to assist Guyana in its crime-fighting efforts, especially in the areas where the local law enforcement agencies lack capacity. This has received a positive response from the international community. One of the more recent initiatives is the implementation of the gun amnesty program. This is one of the many interventions to tackle the increase in criminal activities, which has been increasing since February 2014. The program provides for persons to hand over unlicensed firearms and ammunition to the law enforcement agencies without facing prosecutions. This initiative has already been deemed a wonderful success.
The religious organization that forced chaplain and so on have been playing a major role. As to whether the monies to be doing what is called a buyback, we don't have the monies at the present moment. We are constrained by financial arrangements and lack of financial resources. And so we wanted a voluntary giving, if at the appropriate time we do have the finances, we probably can do a buyback. But at this stage, this is the level of it that we wanted. And to have this is good news, quite frankly.
The amnesty is trying to address the unlawful possession. It's not as had been suggested that you're trying to invite someone to dispose of evidence that could be used in forensic investigation into a crime. It has nothing to do with the evidence. Whatever this amnesty is seeking to address is to allow an opportunity for a person to surrender firearm for which they do not have a license. And the police would then have to do their job. Because they are given a firearm, they have to be satisfied that they do what police would do in relation to the firearm. But the person who surrender has an amnesty, and the amnesty has a window, so that if you didn't take advantage of the window to surrender a firearm that you don't have a license for, then you will be dealt with in the first place in the way that you had fared. You will be dealt with, to be brought before the court, perhaps refused bail if you have committed an offense before or so, and then probably sent to jail for a long period of time. So I believe that we have to look at the amnesty in its merit and not to try to read into it that it is some escape valve for people who had committed crime to come and surrender the evidence. It's not the rationale and not the purpose of the amnesty. And I just thought I should explain that because I've seen some comments being made by persons who claim to be authorities on guns and amnesty and evidence and prosecution, who seem to know all the law in the world and had an opportunity to put it in practice, but they have never thought about putting an amnesty before, to open up a window of opportunity to relieve the community of dangerous, a lethal and dangerous stock of munition. Each one of these could represent the loss of a life. Each one could represent the loss of a life. The fact that they have been surrendered to the police, it meant something of value to Guyana, that you have made our country less dangerous or a bit more safe. Perhaps not as safe as we all would like it to be, but it is an effort that we ought to applaud. And I do applaud the effort by the police and by the Minister of Public Security.
The firearms, whether they were used before or not, is better off here than where they were before they were turned in to the police. That all of these firearms, each ammunition there, it only takes one to cost the life of someone. So having them in the police custody is better off than having them in the society, and where the possibility of them getting into hands of persons with criminal intent exists.
A national crime fighting action plan has also been created and is engaging the attention of various supporting authorities. Increased police patrols and cooperation from citizens have allowed for a significant decrease in criminal activities countrywide. The efforts of the high-level team headed by President David Granger have also contributed to this reduction. The team meets weekly. It includes Prime Minister Moses Nagamutu, Minister of State Joseph Harmon, Public Security Minister Kemraj Ramjatan, and the various heads of the law enforcement agencies. It is clearly the intention of the government to further equip and make capable the Guyana Police Force in its response to crime. Emphasis will also be placed on building capacity, as government intends to take a holistic approach.
Suicide is the act of intentionally causing one's own death. It is often carried out as a result of despair, the cause of which is frequently attributed to a mental disorder, such as depression, bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, borderline personality disorder, alcoholism or drug abuse, as well as stress factors such as financial difficulties, troubles with interpersonal relationships, and bullying. However, the government does not believe that suicide should be the way out for any citizens, and as such has begun to tackle the issue.
Suicide prevention is a major focus area for the fairly new administration. This has seen the governments taking a strong position on the issue. This began with the 2015 budget, which saw monies being allocated for the fight.
Far too many Guyanese have viewed suicide as an option. This must not continue. The mental health and well-being of individuals begin from childhood, and hence the public health, education, and social protection ministries will collaborate and work with families to determine the causes and find solutions to prevent this scourge on our people. Mr. Speaker, addressing the cost burden of healthcare services borne by the elderly and ensuring that their dignity remains intact during care and treatment will be a priority of this government. In addition to the support under social protection, an elder home care program will be explored. This will provide support to older persons in managing their health care while reducing the cost burden to both the elderly and the national health system. Altogether, these systematic interventions within the context of Health Vision 2020 will redound to the improved health care of every man, woman, and child across our country.
This was followed by discussions and a subsequent launch of the Ministry of Public Health's National Suicide Prevention Strategy. Several walks and outreaches have been held to raise awareness on the issue. The most recent one was held in Blackbush Polder, East Berbice, on World Prevention of Suicide Day. This location was chosen because it is the area with the highest suicide rate countrywide. At this forum, Minister of Social Protection, Valda Lawrence, pointed out that there is need for more family time in society, as well as certain roles that teachers need to play.
Your child come home to you with an issue, you go, you tell the neighbor, you talk to your friends, and she would say, oh, he playing, he's a big man. She playing, she's a big woman. No, they're not. They're expressing themselves. You know, we have so many faults as Guyanese, sometimes we don't see it. When our family come back from America and Canada, and the children answering us back, we say, it's to them Canadians say, and it's to them Americans say, hello, am I talking the truth? But when our children express themselves, what we tell them? You're playing big man. You're playing big woman. Shut up. We like to tell our children to shut up. Isn't that not so? How many times can you recall in your lifetime as an adult, you told a child to shut up? Children must be seen and not heard. And then something happens, and we wail, and we wail, and we wail. That you give them everything. That you give them everything. But there is something that is lacking. It is called time. We do not give our children and our family members time. We're busy, we're tired, we want to sleep. It's always about us. And I posit the question, since when Guyanese have become so selfless and selfish? Since when? Since when? As politicians, people tell you things, don't follow all them people, you know, because you're going to get sick. You can't listen to everybody. People tell you that. And the reason why people voted for you is because they want you to solve their issues. How are you going to solve their issues if you do not listen to them? And likewise, teachers, I'm going to knock you, and I'm going to knock you very hard. Stop discussing the children in the general public. Stop talking about the child in front of the entire class. Stop forming cliques And speaking about the children, as though they are not there, respect must be given not only to elders, but respect must be given to each and every person. That is what they're asking for us to respect them.
The focus of the new government is to ensure no life be wasted. So if you or someone you know is struggling with depression or having suicidal thoughts, then contact the ministry's interagency suicide prevention helpline on 592-223-0818, WhatsApp 592-600-7896, 592-623-4444, BBM 2BE 55649, 2BE 56020. Twitter at Guyana Agency. Email GuyanaAgency@yahoo.com, or on Facebook Guyana Interagency Suicide Prevention Helpline.
Guyana ranks among the largest countries in the region, with its 83,000 square miles and vast natural resources. While the nation is known for its hospitality and great flora and fauna, there is significant deterioration of many aspects of Guyanese life, especially on the coastline. Unplanned settlements, inadequate traffic flows, garbage build-ups, and occasional flooding in many areas. To this end, the government has introduced Project Restoration Guyana that is intended to rebrand Guyana.
There are many adults around the world who would tell you that in the 60s, 70s, and even in the 1980s, Guyana was a very clean place. In Georgetown, the drains were so clean that children could play in them, flowers lined the streets, and there was no garbage on the parapets. In the 1990s, however, things changed and the environment became filthy. Garbage could be seen at almost every corner. Now there is an all-out effort to clean up this country. Project Restore Guyana will rebrand the country as a place where all citizens, corporate and private, can work towards a wholesome environment and a country. The project targets drainage and traffic management, sustainable urban, rural and hinterland physical infrastructure renewal, rebranding Guyana through the restoration of ethical attitudes and responsible social behavior by all citizens, solid waste management and derelict vehicle removal, and welfare management of the homeless. The project aims to restore Guyana as a land of attractiveness and prosperity, one which offers a good life for citizens and visitors alike.
The Cabinet's vision, and I hope this is a vision that we all share, the vision is for a rehabilitated, restored and renewed Guyana, where civic pride is restored, all Guyanese enjoy a reasonable standard of living or a good life, and that Guyana becomes a hub for commerce, tourism and development.
Whilst the task force's mandate is to rehabilitate, restore and renew Guyana, all Guyanese have a part to play, and as such, the Commission has been conducting consultation sessions nationwide. Recently, this process was taken to Region 2. The goals of the project were outlined and participants had the opportunity to raise concerns regarding their environment and provide their own recommendations.
This is a team effort, but from a counting standpoint, it's the REO and the subject heads or department heads that to a large extent will be driving this program. And it is not restricted only to the officials who are employed by the RDC. It is a regional effort. So non-governmental organizations, civil society organizations, including women's groups, youth organizations, indigenous peoples representatives, we're all involved in this. The churches are involved, and youth organizations. You need to see connectivity here. You need to see job creation, a healthy lifestyle, reduction of diseases, care for the environment, academic education, civic education, more responsible citizenship. All of these things are integrated. So this is not a standalone project. This project has to be fully integrated.
Region 2 was commended for being on top of the list in terms of sanitation, However, there are deficiencies in some areas, and the regional administration was urged to adopt the vision of the task force to further enhance the region.
It was a great pleasure this morning to come off the Stelling at Good Hope and drive through to Cottonfield, and then from Cottonfield to come to the Regina office, the State House, and not to see any garbage at the side of the road. My driver and I traveled to Region 3, Region 4, Region 5, Region 6, and Region 10 over the last 2 weeks. And this area between Good Hope or Supernam and here is the cleanest we've seen in the country. Certainly the appearance on the road. But when the chairman took me to Charity, it was a different kettle of fish. So the NDC at Charity has to do a lot of work, because it's not just about several villages, it's about the whole region. And this is what this is all about. Occasional flooding in many areas. The chairman took me to Charity to see the dam on the left bank of the Pomeroon River, which has been sinking. The difference is almost 2 feet. And their houses and the settlement there, or the community there, are threatened. These are very important areas that we have to address. And how we do this, whether through your own efforts or where you need assistance from the subject ministries, these are some of the things that we have to talk about. I saw, for example, the CARICOM rice mill, and I inquired, what is the plan for this? Because it looks like an eyesore. Sometimes you take it for granted, you pass there all the time, but then for a new person coming into the area, I haven't been here for quite some time. So when I saw that, it stood out like a sore thumb. What is the plan that CARICOM Rice Mills has for that infrastructure? Are they going to dismantle it, sell it as scrap, use the land more productively, surrender it to the state? There must be a plan. Lack of physical planning for growth and development, growth and renewal. And I touched on this earlier. A lack of routine and necessary maintenance. You are well aware that if you have a bountiful rice crop but the dams are not in order, then you have difficulty to access the dam, or during land preparation, or if the canals are not clean or desilted, then it creates havoc in terms of the productivity. And a general neglect of the poor, the homeless, the aged, the disabled, and other unfortunate ones. Here, I would like to add those with a propensity for suicide, but that is a major issue in your region.
The first phase of the project is to be completed by May 26, 2016, when Guyana will be celebrating 50 years as an independent nation. Between September and October, a report of efforts and a draft restoration plan, including details and the budget for Phase 1 of the activities, should be completed. By November, the final restoration plan should be ready, and this will be taken to Cabinet for final approval. From then on to May 26, 2016, the project will be implemented and carefully monitored.
You were watching Guyana 411. I'm Shivani Rampasad. Until next week, stay safe and keep your environment clean.